I'm going to start doing that now. All right. Okay, so this is an interactive workshop. I want you guys to, participate and actually have a plan for yourselves moving forward once we're done. So with that said, I believe in my reminder message, I told you guys that you needed to bring it or have a paper and pencil or pen ready, or just something to record information on, because you will be taking a little self-assessment here at the beginning. All right. So time management is organizing your time to make the most efficient use of it. And that includes everything, including school, your personal time, family time, and sleep time, even dinner prep, travel, right? All of those things we have to manage. We have to take into account when we're creating a schedule. So think of time management as budgeting your time like you would your money. If you have, a plan for where your finances go, right? You have a certain amount you pay to bills, you have a certain amount for groceries or entertainment, etc. So that it's the same idea, just with your hours in the day. All right. So what we're going to do at the beginning of this is take the self-assessment, time management assessment. So what I want you to do is number your piece of paper from 1 to 12, and then you're going to answer agree or disagree to these statements below, or the ones that you see on the screen. So let me know when you're ready, and I will read these off to you as you, and you can answer them as we go through them. Is everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. All right. So I tend to be on time for classes and appointments. So for number 1, write agree or disagree if that describes you. And don't think about it too hard. Just go with kind of what your gut reaction is. All right, 2, I set aside time to study for exams. Agree or disagree? Number 3, I set aside time to study or read my textbook even if I do not have an exam to prepare for. Agree or disagree? All right, number 4, I regularly take part in social activities despite the fact that I have studying to do. Agree or disagree? Number 5, I usually cram for exams. Number 6, I usually feel prepared on the day of exams. Number 7, with everything I have to do, I find it hard to complete assignments and projects on time. Number 8, I do not experience burnout anytime between midterm and final exams. Agree or disagree that you do not experience burnout? Number 9, I write down the things that I need to do. Number 10, I have enough time to get done what I need to, but I still find it hard to finish everything. '11, I hardly ever feel pressured to get things done. Agree or disagree? And then finally, number 12, dealing with extenuating circumstances such as sorting out financial aid, getting extra tutoring, or seeing a professor during office hours seriously disrupts my daily or weekly routine. Agree or disagree? All right. So now that you have all the answers, agree or disagree to your numbers 1 through 12, we're going to add up your score and see what we come up with, because it's important from the beginning to know where you stand. How well do you time manage now? Where do you need to improve you know, your normal routine? So for numbers 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, and 11, you're going to give yourself 1 point for each statement that you said you agree with. So statement number 1, if you agree, you get a point, and so on. For statements 4, 5, 7, 10, and 12, if you disagreed with those, you get a point. Otherwise, 0 points. All right, does anyone want to share their result? So where do you fit in the time management?
I got 9 out of 12.
Walk in. Oh, awesome. 9 out of 12.
Yes.
Who was that?
This is Shauna.
Shauna. Good. So if you score between 9 and 12, congrats. You're a good time manager. Somebody else talking? Sarah?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if you could hear me.
Yeah.
I got 6 out of 12.
6 out of 12. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means you are doing some things right.
Some.
Karina?
Yeah, I got a 3 out of 12.
Okay. That's all right. That's what you're here for, right? So, regardless of your score, the tips on here I think can help you improve your time management skills. And of course, study skills, we'll talk about those as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So let's move on to the next slide. If I'm meeting with you in person, usually with students in person, I have a worksheet that my students fill out. And the first thing they do is identify their obligated time. So that's work, school, like going to class, and travel to and from work and school and appointments. And then sleep, right? Sleep is definitely obligated time. And then once they have filled in the gaps of obligated time, then they move on to free time. So where do we not have obligated time? That's where we can fill in those gaps with study time and also leisure pampering time, because that is just as important, right? Relaxation, see at the bottom here, be balanced. Relaxation is just as important as school. And then assess yourself. Have you found hidden time you didn't know you had? Is there enough time available to study for all your classes? You know, if your schedule's too packed, you need to make some changes. You know, if you can't accommodate all the demands on your time. If it looks reasonable, then stick with it, right? That's the hardest part. It's easy to make a schedule. It's a lot harder to actually stick with it and be consistent. So here is what one of those worksheets looks like. One of my students that I met with, she filled out a worksheet with her obligated time. I know it looks kind of messy, but it worked for her. And what she did, so she had, let's see. Oh yeah. So her micro class was held on Tuesday nights from 6 to 9, and then micro lab was held Wednesday nights from 6 to 9. So culture and health class was on Monday nights. So she had all that time blocked out as obligated time. If you were going to campus, you would also have travel time blocked out up here, right? But she was a remote learner already. We had already hit COVID, so there was no need for the travel. So she just put quick review before class. And then up here, you can see where she has put a square for taking notes for micro, doing her mastering homework, baby time or kids time, right? Because that's important. Dinner prep and cleanup, swim with kids. All of those things are important, and they need to be scheduled if you're going to do them. Otherwise, things fall through the cracks, and you have that, oh no, I'm forgetting to do something, always in the back of your mind. So what I tell everyone is, for each square you have as a, like class time or a due date, you need to have a corresponding square or squares where you're working on that particular task that's due. So for example, micro lab or micro class. In my free time that I might have, I might have a square up here for reading micro textbook, right, to prep for this obligated time. Or if I've got a test on Friday, right, due date Friday, let's just pretend, then I need to have a square somewhere in here that corresponds to that test, right? Probably more than one. So let's look at a blank sheet. And I, by the way, will send this worksheet and the slide presentation and everything to you guys when this is over. So let me annotate here. All right. So Shauna, let's just pick you out of the bunch. What nights are your classes?
I have Monday night and then Saturday morning.
Okay. So we're gonna square that out. And then is it 9 to 12, 9:30 to
9:30, yes.
12:30? All
Yeah.
right. I taught a Saturday class this past time. It actually wasn't too bad. I enjoyed it. All right. And what are those classes called?
I have English comp on Monday and math is going to be on Saturday.
Okay. And then math. Oh, I don't know why the text box is doing that, but there we go. All right. So then all of you, no matter what your class schedule is, are going to have, let's see. Oh, I can make a square. That's nice. So down here, you're gonna have a due date for discussions, right, on these days. So I'm gonna just copy that. And then discussion responses. And then, so since we know those are due on at these times, are we just gonna fly by the seat of our pants and come Wednesday after class or during class, if we have class on Wednesday, realize, oh no, I have discussions due tonight, I need to do those right now. Is that the way to do it? No, right? So remember I said we want to have a corresponding box for each of these due things that are due. So, and a lot of my students like to color coordinate as well. So maybe the yellow is your discussion box, and then the yellow, you can make the yellow corresponding box so you know what it's for. So I'm going to do my discussions here. They're due here, but I'm going to actually work on them here. And then the responses, maybe I have free time here, so I'm going to put it there, right? And then that way we're not worried about it. It's out of the way. We've probably done a better job on it than if we waited till the last minute. And that's just one example for discussions. Your classes will also have the same idea, right? So for English, if you have class coming up on Monday, you're going to want to read the material before class, right? Or for any class that you have. So maybe on Sunday you have some free time. Read for English, whatever, 101. Do mastering assignments, whatever the case might be. We just want to make sure that we have for each thing that's due a corresponding study time or time set aside to do that task that's due. And that will make your life a whole lot easier. All right, any questions?
No.
Great, so I'm going to clear this board and move on to the next slide. So all of your due dates are, should be at least in your Canvas calendar, all the due dates for all your classes. So I highly recommend using Google Calendar. So once students fill out that spreadsheet or that timesheet that I just went over, they'll go to their Google Calendar, and all of you have Google Calendar through your Arizona College Gmail. So I'll just show you real quick what that looks like. So I have all of my meetings and tasks. Like yesterday, I set aside time to grade final papers here, because I also teach English as well. So, and it will give you a notification. You can choose to set it up to where it notifies you right here 10 minutes before. So whatever device you're using, if I'm on my computer even, it'll notify me. But my phone also does because it's linked to my phone. So if I'm sitting down watching Netflix or reading a book, I don't have to watch the clock. I can just hear the notification on my phone and know, okay, it's time to get started on that task, right? So you can actually transfer your Canvas calendar to your Google Calendar fairly easily. And that way all your due dates, the notification will be sent to you on your Google Calendar. So here is how to do that.
So you're going to start on your Canvas and then go to your calendar. And then over here, you'll want to make sure that you have all of your classes checked, and it'll show up on here. So this is your Canvas calendar. It has all of your assignments and all of that stuff. And then you go to calendar feed, and then you click here to view the feed. And then that downloads it here. And then you go to your Google Calendar, you click add other calendars, and then you do import, and then you select the file from your computer that you just downloaded, open it, and then you import it. and I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. But then you will have all of your assignments over here imported from your Canvas.
Okay. So just a handy little trick that a lot of students have found helpful. And I would definitely recommend doing that just because of the fact that it does give you that notification to remind you. And I would also put my study times on Google as well for the same reason. All right, so we've talked.
Class that's not loading, who should we contact?
I'm sorry if
I still have math is not showing up.
something wasn't loading.
Yeah, the math doesn't load to calendar.
Okay, you would need to contact IT,
Okay,
tech support at arizonacollege.edu.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so the next topic I want to cover is study skills. So know your learning preference. These are the bullet points we're going to talk about. Use concept maps. Avoid marathon sessions. Take notes. And there's also, I'm not going to do it right now, but there's a link here where you can take another assessment, not about time management, but about your study skills and see where you stand there. And I'll send this presentation to you guys and you'll have access to that. So learning preference, you may have heard them referred to as learning styles, but they are a little bit different. We want to use different verbiage for that, for learning styles, because a lot of students will tell me, well, I can't learn that way, or I don't know how to learn that way. That's not my learning style. And that's not really the way learning styles work. So you can learn a variety of different ways, anybody can, but how you prefer to learn and how you learn the best, might be a particular way, right? But we don't want to use learning styles as like, a crutch for not performing well, for example. There are lots of different ways that you can, you can even tune your study habits to fit your learning style, right? Even if you're not learning that way in class necessarily. Use concept maps. Concept maps are just graphic organizers. They use them a lot in core. And so part of our gen ed kind of strategy now is to implement concept maps into gen ed courses to get students used to them, accustomed to them before they enter core. Avoiding marathon sessions. So Miss A, she's a core teacher here in Tempe, and she will tell you, don't study any longer than an hour at a time, because your brain is like a sponge. And she uses the sponge analogy, right? If you soak up too much at once, there's no room left for anything else, right? It's all the space is taken up for that one session. So make sure that you're taking breaks, that you don't sit for hours at a time cramming, right? That's not the best use of your time, and it's not the best way to retain information. So the learning preferences are associated with your senses, right? We absorb information, we process it, and we retain it through our senses. And so it just refers to which one you prefer that works best for you. So we call them visual learners, auditory learners, or kinesthetic learners. So there is a learning preference quiz at this link. I'm not gonna have you do it right now, but I would suggest you go back and look at this presentation when I send it to you, and figure out what your learning style is or your learning preferences right away, so that you can make the best use of your study time. Auditory, visual, and, as I said before, tactile or kinesthetic are the three major styles. So if you are an auditory learner, you depend on hearing and speaking as your primary method of learning. My husband is an auditory learner, so he loves listening to Audible books, right? Or he loves listening to YouTube videos. He doesn't even have to watch them, he'll just listen, right? Any way that he can hear information is the best way for him to learn it. So whether that's talking to other people about it, right? If you discuss your notes and your ideas with other people, that's one way to hear the information, or hearing it from a classmate or a study buddy. So you may not learn as well if you're an auditory learner through drawn or written instructions or videos. A lot of my auditory learners, they will record the lectures, and now that everything is online, the lectures are automatically recorded. So that's good news for you guys. I always record my class sessions, and then I send the link to my students after class so they can refer to it later if needed. So definitely listen to the lecture after class. You don't have to watch it, right, unless it's necessary. Like I said before, form study groups with other students in your class, virtual study groups even, and hear the information coming from them, and also verbalize it yourself. Hearing it in different ways helps you to get a more comprehensive idea of the topic. If your instructor is saying something you don't understand or you need clarification on, definitely ask, and maybe ask them to even explain it in another way, right? Could you say that in a different way, because I don't understand the way you're explaining it right now. I would also recommend that you use the Read to Me feature on ebooks if you're an Audible or auditory learner. Just have them read to you. And finally, you need to study in a quiet environment if you're an auditory learner, because it will be too distracting for you, right? Sensory overload. And you need to hear the information. You don't need it to be drowned out by other noises. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is visual learners. So you first must see what you're expected to know. So colors are a huge benefit, using color coding for visual learners. So maybe use different color notes for different topics or different classes even. Color coordinate highlighters in your notes. Use flashcards, they're your best friends. And even better, some of my students have even drawn images associated with the terms on the flashcard. So they're seeing the word and they're also seeing an image associated with it, which helps them process it better as visual learners. You can even use clip art or stickers if you can't draw, right? Concept maps, we talked about that earlier, but really beneficial for visual learners. Illustrate your notes as well. A lot of my, we have visual learners, and some of them are talented, artsy, and so they'll draw pictures of the heart, right, and the different parts of it. And then finally, watch YouTube videos. They are, there's a YouTube video for everything, right? So watch YouTube videos and try to watch YouTube videos with lots of graphics and images that go along with the topic. And then finally, kinesthetic and hands-on learners. They're not as, these are not as common as the other two. I personally am a kinesthetic learner. So basically, if your body isn't moving, your brain doesn't realize you're supposed to be learning, or you're supposed to be, retaining info. So kinesthetic learners, everybody needs to do this, by the way, but especially kinesthetic learners need to write notes in class. Keep your hands moving. Sometimes when I was in class, I would tense and relax my muscles, like my calf muscles, or a stress ball or something, and just keep moving to keep your brain awake, right? Use a whiteboard when studying. And if we were on campus right now, our LRC provides 2 huge whiteboards in each study room with different colored dry erase markers. But you can get those for yourself if needed, and then you can write all of your information on your whiteboard, and making large movements, right, with your arms and hands. Squeeze stress balls while studying, and if possible, use them while you test. Walk on a treadmill while you read or listen to the recorded lectures, or while you have your book reading to you. I like to fold laundry and watch or listen to things I'm supposed to learn. Just as long as I'm moving, it's the better I retain. Also, chew gum while you study or listen to lectures. Chew the same flavor for the same classes. I know it sounds weird, but if I'm chewing Big Red gum when I'm studying for A&P, and then I chew the same flavor gum when I'm taking the exam, somehow, remember, the senses are an important way that we gain information. Your brain makes that association. It creates an association in your brain that will remind you of the information even better than if you had not done that. All right. So we're going to look at an example of a concept map. And this, like I said, is really going to come into effect when you're in core, but you can use concept maps for any class, including English, right? This looks like something you might see in an English class when you're pre-writing and you're brainstorming for writing that paper. But it's basically just dividing things up into categories through a graphic organizer. So I'm going to play this as well.
Hi, I'm Libby, and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about concept maps. We'll start with a quick overview, and then we'll jump into a step-by-step tutorial and build out an example together. When thinking about a certain topic, several different thoughts and ideas may come to mind. But after a while, those thoughts and ideas become a jumbled mess, and it can be difficult to keep everything straight. That's where a concept map comes in. A concept map is a visual way to organize your thoughts and make connections between ideas. They improve our ability to understand and remember concepts because our brains process visuals faster than plain text. Before we show you how to make a concept map, let's talk about the tools you can use to make one. You can draw a concept map with pen and paper, but a diagramming application is going to make things much easier. Today, I'll be using Lucidchart, and you can too, for free actually. Just click the link here to access Lucidchart's website, enter your email address, and you'll have a free Lucidchart account in just a few seconds. It's easy to use and you can follow along with me as we build a concept map. A concept map is made of 3 very basic elements: shapes, arrows, and text. The shapes represent concepts or ideas. Rectangles are the most commonly used shape, but some people use ovals instead. For our example, we'll use rectangles to represent concepts. Arrows show the relationship between those concepts, and text is used to identify and describe the concepts and relationships. The first step in creating a concept map is to identify the main concept. This might be the subject of a research paper, a study topic, a business problem, or any variety of things. But it has to be one specific thing. For our example, we're just going to do something very simple. We're going to map out everything we know about the solar system. So we'll drag out a rectangle, which represents a concept, and write our main topic, solar system. Our entire concept map, as we build it out, is going to fall under this main concept. But sometimes the main concept can still be a bit too broad. Maybe we know a lot about the solar system, like the history of its discovery, planetary physics, formation theories, and so on. Our concept map would be really big, but potentially not that useful. We might need to concentrate our attention on one particular topic, and to do that we could use a focus question. A focus question helps specify the problem or issue the concept map is supposed to resolve. For example, a focus question could be, what's in the solar system? This will focus our concept map on one specific topic and make our final diagram much clearer. Now that we have a very specific main concept, we can start listing out any related concepts. These will eventually fall under our main concept and form the overall map, but for now, let's just create a list off to the side. Some people call this a parking lot, and it usually consists of around 15 to 25 key concepts. Use your main concept and focus question as a guide, and start listing out any related knowledge. For our solar system example, we'd start by writing out planets, sun, asteroid belt, and moons, briefly as possible. Try to keep each key concept to 1 or 2 words. Otherwise, you may end up with a very text-heavy concept map that has less visual impact. For example, you wouldn't want to write, Pluto is no longer classified as a planet. Yes, this is related knowledge, but you're better off just writing Pluto. That's the key concept, and we can add details later. I'll add about 10 more concepts to my list, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now that we've listed all our ideas out into this parking lot, we can start adding them to the concept map and organizing them. You'll want to arrange your concepts in a hierarchical format. The map is going to start with your main topic at the top, and then get more and more specific as you move down. So let's begin by finding our most general concepts in the parking lot. The sun and planets seem to be the broadest, so we'll drag those over and put them right below our main concept. You can continue to drag out all your concepts and place them in an approximate order, but I like to connect my ideas as I go. To show relationships between concepts, we draw an arrow between them. Here, we're showing a relationship between the solar system and the sun. And typically, you're going to want to define the relationship by adding text. It's best to use verbs that link these two concepts together and form a simple phrase as you move down the map. For example, we might write, includes on this line. As we read from top to bottom, we get a simple phrase that explains the relationship. The solar system includes the sun. This is called a proposition. A proposition is just a meaningful statement made up of 2 concepts and a linking description. By the time your concept map is finished, you'll have several sets of propositions about a certain topic. Let's create another proposition over here. We'll draw a line between solar system and planets, and then write includes again. Another proposition is formed. The solar system includes planets. Not every relationship has to move downward. You can also create cross-links between concepts in different domains of the concept map. For example, you could draw a line from planets to the sun, and then write orbit on the line. When you read in the direction of the arrow, you see that planets orbit the sun. Crosslinks are a great way of visualizing how different concepts throughout your map relate to one another. Before we finish building out the rest of this concept map, I want to quickly explain the difference between a concept map and a mind map, since many people get those confused. As we've shown, a concept map works downward from the main topic, and you add text to your lines to describe relationships. For a while, those thoughts and ideas.
All right, that's the basic gist of what I wanted to show you guys. So I'm going to ask you how you would make a concept map of learning styles. And I'm not going to have you collaborate today, but it would probably start out looking something like this, right? Learning styles. What could we put here to branch off of, I'm going to test your knowledge right now, or your memory about what we just talked about. So what are some things that we could branch off of visual?
Flashcards?
Yeah. Good.
Colors.
Exactly. All right, perfect. And then we could even branch off of flashcards and say, with pictures, use colors, etc. Colors, we could put highlight topics. We could branch off and say take notes with different colors for different subjects, right? So all of these would have something branching off of them, and you could go really as far as you wanted to, right? But you can see how this is helpful for just organizing information, especially for a visual learner, right? And even a kinesthetic learner, if they, if they choose to write it on a piece of paper. And like I said before, any subject really can be studied using a concept map. You could do A&P that way if you wanted to, right? So let's move. I'm gonna get out of this. Whoops. And then finally, I'm not going to show you the video because we're running out of time, but a lot of my students, or several of students, have told me that they like using these apps. I believe you do. I mean, you do have to pay for them, and I believe they're on the iPad. But GoodNotes and Notability are two really cool apps that organize information to help you study in a more organized manner. So Notability, I believe, is the one that while the teacher is talking, one of my students showed me this. So while the teacher's talking, it'll record what they're saying, and it will also record as you're taking notes. So you can go back and play it and see the notes being written as the recording of the teacher talking plays, which is pretty cool. But I did want to mention that these tools are out there and available if you wanted to give it a try. So that's pretty much all I have, guys. I would love to hear feedback. Was it helpful? Do you have any questions or anything like that?
I really thought it was helpful with the Canvas calendar, how you're able to transport it to your Google.
Yeah, that's a really neat
Yeah.
tip, especially it was a core student who made the video. Core students have a lot more classes during the week than gen eds do, right? So it's really easy to get them days mixed up or whatever. So yeah, it's a really handy tool.
That is a handy tool because it can also be on your phone, so it's
Right.
can go wherever you go. You don't have to be hauling